Do you know what's worse than losing someone? It's realizing that the person you trusted the most was lying to you the whole time. That the love you thought was real, was just an illusion. When I met Alex, I was sure it was fate. He picked up my bag when I dropped it on the subway stairs, smiled at me, and in that moment, I felt something I had never felt before. We started dating, and everything seemed perfect, late-night talks, weekend trips, inside jokes only we understood. For the first time, I believed I had found the man I'd spend my life with, but perfect love stories don't exist, do they? At first, I ignored the small things. He suddenly became protective of his phone. He started working late nights more often. And when I asked him how his day was, he'd give me short, cold answers. His eyes, they weren't the same. He used to look at me like I was his whole world. Now, it was like he was looking straight through me. I told myself I was being paranoid. That maybe he was stressed, tired, just overwhelmed with work. I cooked his favorite meals, tried to cheer him up, but nothing worked. And then, one night, as I hugged him, I noticed something that froze my blood. His shirt smelled like perfume. Not mine. Someone else's. That was the first time I let the thought creep in, what if he's cheating? That perfume on his shirt haunted me. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I tried to convince myself that maybe it was nothing, maybe someone at work hugged him, maybe it was just a random scent in the air. But deep down, I knew. My gut was screaming at me, something is wrong. After that night, I started noticing more. He was always on his phone, typing quickly, then flipping it face down the moment I walked into the room. He used to leave his phone lying around anywhere, unlocked, but now he carried it everywhere like it was glued to his hand. He also started coming home later. At first, it was an hour late, then 2. One time he didn't come back until after midnight. His excuse? Work. But when I looked into his eyes as he said it, I didn't see exhaustion. I saw guilt. And then there were the little lies. He'd say he was grabbing lunch with a coworker, but I'd find out that coworker was out of town. He told me his boss needed him on a Saturday, but his office was closed that day. Each lie on its own seemed small, almost harmless. But together, they painted a picture I didn't want to see. I started questioning myself. Was I crazy? Was I imagining things because I was insecure? That's what he wanted me to believe. He'd smile and say, "You're overthinking again, babe. You know I'd never do that to you." And for a second, I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. Because the alternative, that the man I loved was betraying me, was unbearable. But then came the moment I couldn't ignore. One evening, he was in the shower, and his phone buzzed on the nightstand. My heart pounded as I reached for it. I shouldn't have, but I did. On the screen was a message from someone saved under a man's name. But the words, "I miss you already. Can't wait to see you again." No guy texts another guy like that. I dropped the phone, my hands shaking. My heart sank so deep into my stomach I thought I was going to be sick. That was it. I couldn't lie to myself anymore. He wasn't just acting strange. He wasn't just tired or stressed. He was hiding something from me. And I needed to know the truth. That was the night I promised myself I would find out who she was. After reading that message, something inside me shifted. The woman I had been, trusting, naive, blind, she disappeared in that moment. What replaced her was someone colder, sharper. If Alex wanted to play games, fine. I would play too. I didn't confront him right away. Screaming, crying, that would only give him the power. No. I wanted the truth. The whole truth. And to get it, I had to be smarter than him. So I started watching. Listening. Collecting small pieces of the puzzle. When he said he was going to the gym, I checked his bag after he left. No workout clothes, no sneakers, just his car keys and cologne. When he claimed he was working late, I called his office from a blocked number. The line went straight to voicemail. Then there were the receipts. crumpled ones I found in his jacket pockets. Dinners for two at restaurants we'd never been to together. Drinks from bars in neighborhoods he never mentioned. I started keeping them in a box under the bed, my secret little archive of his lies. And the phone. God, the phone drove me crazy. He guarded it like it held the nuclear codes. Always face down, always on silent. I knew if I could just get into it, I'd have all the answers. But he wasn't stupid, he changed his passcode. Still, he couldn't change his patterns. Late-night texts, the quick smile when he thought I wasn't looking, the way he'd step outside to take certain calls. Every sign pointed to her. I didn't know who she was yet, but I could feel her shadow between us. In the way he kissed me less often. In the way his hugs grew shorter. In the way he no longer asked about my day. It was like sharing a home with a stranger who still wore the face of the man I loved. And then came the breaking point. One evening, he said he was going to a friend's house to watch a game. I smiled, kissed him goodbye, and waited 10 minutes before grabbing my keys. My hands were shaking as I followed his car down the dark streets, headlights off, my heart pounding like a drum. He didn't drive toward his friend's place. He didn't even drive near it. Instead, he turned into a quiet neighborhood I didn't recognize and parked in front of an apartment building. I pulled over half a block away and watched as he got out of the car, and a woman was already waiting for him at the door. She ran into his arms like she belonged there. And he held her like she was his everything. My breath caught in my throat. My world tilted. There it was, the truth I had been searching for. And yet, instead of screaming, instead of confronting him right then and there, I felt calm. Almost too calm. Because in that moment, I realized something important. Alex wasn't in control anymore. I was. I sat in my car that night, watching them. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Every second felt like an hour as I saw him lean down and kiss her like he used to kiss me. Tender, slow, full of meaning. My chest burned, but no tears came. Not yet. It was almost as if my body refused to give him the satisfaction of my pain. Instead, I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo. His arms wrapped around her, her face pressed into his chest. Proof. Solid proof. He thought he was clever, thought he was hiding everything so perfectly, but here he was, in the open, giving me exactly what I needed. I took another photo, then another, my hand steady even though my heart was breaking. I didn't confront him that night. I didn't storm up to the door and scream. That would have been too easy for him. He would have lied, manipulated, maybe even twisted it back on me. No, I wasn't going to give him that chance. I wanted him trapped in his own web, with no way out. So I drove home. Alone. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in silence, staring at the photos on my phone. My world was crashing down, but strangely, I felt powerful. I had the truth now. I had control. The next few days were torture. Every time he smiled at me, every time he kissed me on the forehead, I wanted to scream, I know. But I held it in. I played the role of the loving girlfriend, because the longer I waited, the more mistakes he would make. And he did. He left his jacket on the chair one night. In the pocket was a receipt, 2 glasses of wine, a romantic dinner for 2. The date on it? The same night he told me he was working late at the office. I folded the receipt neatly and added it to my growing collection of evidence. Another time, I noticed his phone light up on the counter while he was in the shower. A message preview popped up, last night was perfect. Can't wait for the next time. My stomach turned, but I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need to. I already had enough. It was almost ironic. He thought he was living a double life, but really, he was handing me the rope to hang him with. Every lie, every late night, every secret text, it all became part of my case against him. Finally, I decided. The time to act was coming. I wasn't going to let him walk all over me, wasn't going to cry and beg him to stay. No. I was going to look him in the eyes, show him the truth I'd collected, and take back every ounce of power he had stolen from me. But I also knew this, once I confronted him, there would be no going back. Our relationship, our home, our future, it would all shatter in that single moment. So I sat at the kitchen table one night, staring at the photos on my phone, the receipts in front of me, and whispered to myself, tomorrow. Tomorrow he'll finally see who I really am. The next evening, I set the stage. Dinner on the table, candles lit, everything looked perfect, like nothing was wrong. Alex walked in, kissed me on the cheek, and smiled as if he hadn't been kissing another woman the night before. "Smells amazing," he said, hanging up his jacket. I smiled back. "Sit down. We need to talk." Something in my voice must have caught him off guard, because for the first time in weeks, he looked at me with real concern. He sat slowly, his eyes searching my face. "What's wrong, babe?" That was when I pulled out my phone. With one swipe, the photo appeared on the screen, him, standing in front of that apartment, holding her in his arms. I slid the phone across the table toward him. The color drained from his face. This isn't what it looks like," he stammered. I laughed, not the kind of laugh he was used to, but a cold, hollow sound that made him flinch. "Really? Because it looks exactly like what it is. And I'm done pretending I don't see it." He opened his mouth to speak, but I didn't let him. I reached under the table and placed a small stack of receipts in front of him. Dinner for two glasses of wine. Messages from your coworker. You thought you were smart, Alex. But you forgot one thing, I pay attention. For the first time, he was silent. No excuses, no lies, just silence. His hands trembled slightly as he stared at the evidence piled in front of him. I leaned in closer, my voice steady. "Do you know what hurts the most? It's not that you cheated. It's that you thought I was too blind, too stupid to ever notice. That's what I can't forgive." He finally whispered, "Please. I can explain." But I shook my head. "No. You've had your chance to explain, now it's my turn." I stood up, walked to the counter, and pulled out an envelope I had hidden there. Inside were copies of the photos, the receipts, and a neatly written note. I placed it in front of him. "You don't live here anymore. I already changed the locks. Tomorrow, you'll pack your things, and this," I tapped the envelope, "will go straight to your boss if you try to play games with me again. I'm not your little fool anymore." His mouth opened and closed, like he wanted to argue, but the words never came. He just sat there, defeated, small, nothing like the man I once thought I loved. And in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't broken. I wasn't weak. I was free. I walked to the door, opened it wide, and said the last words he would ever hear from me, "You had me once. But you'll never have me again." Then I closed the door behind him, the sound echoing through the house like the final chapter of a book. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. Not because I won. But because I finally remembered who I was, and I was stronger than he ever imagined.